Good evening and welcome to a special Sunday night stream coming live as Trump has announced a strategic crypto reserve with some coins going absolute ballistic today. Rather than record a podcast for CC Pro members, we thought we would just jump on live and explain exactly what is going on, what we can expect this week, which should be a crazy week, and of course look at the impact today's announcement has had on crypto markets. So earlier today we learned that the US will officially be starting a crypto strategic reserve. Donald Trump tweeted saying that it will definitely include XRP, Solana and Cardano. He then tweeted a while later explaining that Ethereum and Bitcoin of course will be part of it as well, and more announcements are to come this week as they build up to the first official crypto summit at the White House on Friday. So a huge move, welcomed by the market. Obviously, if you've been in the crypto space this week, you know we have experienced some extreme fear and greed index dropping as low as 10, deep into extreme fear, as everybody lost their head as Bitcoin dropped as low as $78,000 on Friday. A lot of volatility in the markets. We've seen loads of stories over the last couple of weeks causing or being blamed for this dump. We saw Bybit being hacked. We saw Trump and his tariff wars. We obviously saw the blow up on Friday of the Zelensky and Trump meeting at the White House. Anything that could shake people out of their positions was used, and today we finally got that bounce off the bottom. We did kind of say that these were the two low levels that we were expecting. We just fell short of this one, coming within, what's that, about $1,000, but we stay above the daily 200 MA, which is nice and bullish. On the weekly time frame, we can see Bitcoin, let me take these off the screen. We can see Bitcoin has bounced nicely and looks to close back inside this kind of sideways trading range that it's been in since it broke into it back in November after the election result. So for me, this was a clear manipulated move. We know for a fact how much manipulation is in the crypto space, but it does feel like it has got more intense recently. Bitcoin dropping as low as 78k, bouncing back up. We're now at $92,000 on the day that Trump announces that there's going to be a strategic reserve. It's just typical crypto. And the drop from peak to trough is now in 28%. So about right for bull runs. You see about 30% corrections, so about there or thereabouts, and we're trying to reclaim back to these levels. Now, not to be too doom and gloom, but we do still need to see Bitcoin and the crypto space reclaim some key levels. XRP and Cardano, Solana, they all have, obviously, on that announcement. I think the next key announcement this week we will hear is what other coins are going to be included in the crypto reserve. David Sachs, who is the crypto czar, appointed by Trump, has said that there will be more coins than already announced, and the details of them will come out this week. I think what's also important is how much percent each coin is going to make up. Is Bitcoin going to be a large part of it, or will Bitcoin go into the sovereign wealth fund? Let me just turn down the music a little bit. Good shout, Stephen. So, as I was saying, the key thing this week is going to be what other coins are in the strategic crypto reserve. How much are they going to make up? Is Bitcoin going to be a big part of it, or will the majority of the Bitcoin actually go into the sovereign wealth fund, which is also being planned right now? So there's a lot of considerations coming this week. For me, I'd like to see Bitcoin reclaim this level here, around $94,800. Once we reclaim that, I do think then all-time highs will start looking very possible. Ethereum looking very healthy. So I kind of drew this black trend line on weeks ago, and just showed that the major corrections for Ethereum all bounced off this level, dating back to December 2022. We bounced off it in October 2023 before a big rally, and once again we have retraced back to that level. So it does look like this level's going to hold. We have filled this wick from the 3rd of February as well, and now I do think Ethereum should see some bullish news. I expect some more news about the ETF, about staking, things like that to start coming out, and we could see Ethereum get back up to range highs around $4,100 before going on to make new all-time highs this cycle. Ethereum's been massively manipulated. There's so many shorts in the market. Hedge fund shorts are at all-time highs. Now, what's interesting is Trump's announced that Ethereum will be part of the crypto reserve. However, Wall Street, because of the hours they operate, are closed on a Sunday. So those shorts are still in place. Will we see a short squeeze this week? It would kind of make sense. I mean, why would you, as an institution, be shorting an asset that the government is saying they're bullish on? It seems madness to me. And could the shorts actually have been big institutions just trying to get prices down, scoop up as much as possible, knowing this announcement was coming? That probably seems more likely to me. So I do think Ethereum could see some God candles in the coming weeks, maybe even this week, if it's going to be, a third or 25% of the crypto reserve. That would definitely send it absolute flying, which would be nice, because it's been a real underperformer this cycle. No new all-time high, but even when other coins have stayed strong, Ethereum's pretty much been one of the lagging coins of the cycle. Okay, let's check out XRP, up nicely today. On the 3-day candle, we are up 27%. Nearly all of that is today. We had a little bit of a relief bounce yesterday, but you can see we tested as high as $3. We have retraced back. I still think it's going to be quite a volatile couple of days. Normally when you get these massive bounces, you do see some form of sideways trading and then the next move. So I don't think it's just straight up from here. I think we'll see a bit of sideways chop, maybe into the middle of the week, and then an explosive move into that crypto summit. 27% move, 53% move on Cardano, 17% on Solana. Like, these coins are massive market caps. So I do think we might see some volatility over the next 24 hours, certainly. Maybe retracing a little bit off the peak and then trading sideways before we explode much higher towards the end of the week. And the crypto summit could be the catalyst for everything. All right, let's see who's in the chat. Ross, Paddy, a few others, Kieran, Stephen. Everybody feeling bullish after today's move. Sentiment got real low last week. Before today's move, I actually had a podcast already recorded, was editing it. It was going to be released later tonight, all about sentiment and how negative it had got in the crypto space and how it reminded me of August. And people were saying the same thing. Talking about cutting losses. People were talking about swapping coins. People were talking about coins never ever experiencing all-time highs again. It was all very similar to what we've experienced time and time again in this cycle, but very like August. So had it all prepared, all ready to go, and I might actually still release it just to remind everybody that literally 48 hours ago, everybody was doom and gloom. People were talking about selling in a loss just to get out of crypto because they couldn't handle it anymore. And here we are now, up a massive 12% on Ethereum, second biggest crypto, and Bitcoin's obviously up, almost, what's that? Today we're up $8,000, but since the low we are now up $15,000 just from 3 days ago. So it's amazing how sentiment shifts. People are now bullish. People are now talking about their take profit targets again, and everything seems all rosy. You can see Solana bounced off these candle lows. So a nice retrace for Solana. Big unlock happened yesterday as well. Everybody's saying that the unlock was going to cause bearish price action after. But as we always know, these events normally mark the top or the bottom. And that's exactly the case. The unlock happened yesterday and away we go, much higher today. I would like to see Solana reclaim the 200-day moving average at 184. And then I think once it reclaims that, maybe a test of support. And then I do think we will be off to all-time highs again. And across the market, you can see a lot of these so-called America-made coins. You know, you've got Dogecoin up 10% today. You've got Link up 14%. Hedera's not actually doing as strong as I expected. It seemed to move yesterday, weirdly. So it was up 18% yesterday, kind of cooling off today. So I do think we've still to see another massive run for Hedera back up to all-time highs. But Kieran is right, to be fair. We've had a lot of nonsense meetings. But I do think this week's crypto summit could be the real deal. And the reason for that is he's actually named coins that are going to go in the strategic reserve. We've obviously saw a lot of lawsuits thrown out over the last week by the SEC. And then the fact that they are talking about the official start of a crypto reserve. Seems like everything's now lined up, policy-wise, regulation-wise, key people-wise, and they are now talking about which coins and how much they have to purchase. I think that's the key aspect everybody's missing. Do they already have a stockpile of these coins? Because if they do, then there's no real buy pressure coming from the government, which is fine. But how are they going to allow this liquidity to flow into crypto? Is it all going to be through ETFs? If so, the SEC will need to approve them this week. If it's through the banking regulations, again, great, but how and when can banks start buying crypto? And then also, are they going to open the taps from liquidity on the sidelines, from things like pension funds, 401ks, all that in the States? Because if they open the liquidity tap, that is what is going to cause crypto to really start rocking. Somebody mentioned in CC Pro earlier that we are seeing a bounce, but have we actually got new liquidity into the market? The answer is a bit of both. So there's no liquidity coming necessarily from QE yet. However, what we have seen over the last few days is a spike in liquidity in the repo market, and that is basically just the government moving liquidity about. So there is some liquidity in the market, but we're not seeing rate cuts, we're not seeing QE, but I do think that'll be to coincide with a lot of these announcements in order to make the most of the new regulations. And I think as well, there's a lot of money on the sidelines. Like I said, a lot of money that would usually buy government debt, treasuries, there's funds like pensions and things like that. So if the crypto reserve is going to be open to those pots of money, then there is a lot of liquidity that crypto can tap into. Great to see the total crypto market back above 3 trillion as well. So we fell below it this week with a wick, but we're going to close tonight above this level. This is a crucial level. This is the all-time high from November 2021. It's key we don't lose these levels. And in a bear market, we will lose these levels, and that will tell us that we're heading much lower. But in a bull run, these levels should be respected in order to keep market structure. And it just means dips are for buying. looking at dominance, we can see we've tried to push back up, rejected a couple of times. Be interested to see what happens this week, because we do still have, although we've spoke about, or Trump spoke about the crypto reserve, he did say he was going to create a Bitcoin reserve. So will he create a Bitcoin reserve and the crypto reserve, or is this all going to be merged into one thing now? I suppose that's what we need to learn. And like I've said before, I think Bitcoin probably belongs in the sovereign wealth fund rather than its own reserve. But then obviously it would take a major stake in the crypto reserve as well. So yeah, we could see a lot of buying action, especially when Wall Street opens up. Wall Street futures opens tonight, and then tomorrow with the stock market opening for the week. I think that's where we see some volatility and hopefully some nice price action. Borg up nicely today. It's actually had a couple of days bounce. So over the last few days, we're up 12% from the daily candle low. The 3-day chart, we've bounced off it pretty nicely, held it as support. So now to reclaim the 200-day moving average, about 23.8. I do think Borg and SwissBorg is going to have an amazing bull run. But like I've already said, we've got the news, a bit like the Trump election, we've got the news, which is great, and that will give us some runway, some pump. But what really needs to happen is we need global liquidity to tick up. We need the US to start QE, and we also need that buy-in from Wall Street, from all the capital sitting on the sidelines, and that's what's going to send the entire market to new all-time highs this year. Somebody asked about selling May. Yeah, I still think selling May is a... Let's have a look. Let me go back. So this is the end of April in 2023. Crypto dropped 16% during the summer. We then had a little pop up in June, but then fell away. So ultimately from the middle of April to October, we were pretty much flat, trading in a range. If we look at, this is May 18th, 2024, and we sold off about 25%, but again, pretty much chopped sideways until November. 2022, obviously we were in the bear market, but let's find, so May was here, we had just dropped into the bear market, and again that signaled a massive drop. So May, the sell in May thing will always repeat. I think some people will think this time is different, but it's really governed by Wall Street. It's governed by real capital markets, and they take the summer off. They go on holiday. They get out the markets. They change their positions. They reduce their leverage. They reduce their exposure to the markets, and then go on holiday for a few months. So because of that, the crypto will have a sideways summer. It just happens every single time. We might dump, we might have small rallies, but ultimately, wherever we are in May, we'll pretty much be around the same position by the end of the summer. So I think, for me, what I expect now is there's a high degree of chance that this is the kickstart of the bull run next leg. And I think that will carry us through until end of April, start of May, maybe even till like the first or second week of May. I'm sure there is a Fed meeting in May. And we're also seeing stories, 7th of May is a Fed meeting. So that likely could be around the date where we start seeing that sell in May start to kick in. We also have, in 2 weeks, we have a Fed meeting. Right now, it's only a 7% chance that they're going to cut rates. I think that'll rise quite dramatically over the next 2 weeks. I think it's probably about 50-50 if we cut rates in March. especially because there's no rate cut in April. On the other side, there is a chance that the Fed announces or predicts no rate cut in March, but they are going to cut rates again in May, and that gets priced into the market ahead of time. Markets are forward looking, so markets always price in events ahead of time. So if the Fed makes it very clear at the March meeting that they're not going to change rates, but in May they're going to cut rates, then that'll get priced in by the market. So by the time it actually happens in May, the market's already priced it in and it's a non-event, and then we go into the sideways summer movement. That could be another possibility. But we're interested to see what this number does over the next couple of weeks. Do we get this closer to maybe 20-25% going into that meeting? But time really isn't a massive issue. If we look at what happened in crypto in November, this was the election here. So Tuesday the 5th, Bitcoin's 67,000, and literally within, what's that, 42 days, so 6 weeks, we had risen 60% in Bitcoin. 6 weeks, crypto can do a lot of damage, and there wasn't even extra liquidity. That was purely just on Trump getting elected. So combine crypto strategic reserve, buying pressure from the government, external forces, hedge funds, Wall Street, and QE, and lower rates, plus the DXY selling off, then we could, even if we went 60% higher from here, you're talking $150,000 Bitcoin. If that happens and the market kind of broadens out, we see Ethereum run, XRP, new all-time highs, we could be much, much higher by the middle of May. Then we see that kind of sell off, that sideways summer, and then go again for the blow off top into the winter just before Christmas 2025. That's probably my number one scenario right now. Paddy B, I am not a tax expert. You will need to contact someone else for that. Not touching that. Nice to see on the weekly this trend line still respected. Interestingly, it is all about altcoins. Trump seems to be heavy on altcoins. Bitcoin seems to be his base case, and obviously it's like the strongest asset. It's the one that's going to last the test of time. But he seems to talk a lot about altcoins, Solana, XRP, the American-made coins, Ethereum. Obviously, he launched his own meme coin. So interested to see that this trend line has held dating back to 2017 and normally kickstarts the massive rally in alts. So yeah, huge weekly close tonight. Huge moves. Bitcoin reclaiming 90k is important, but it'd be nice to see us close. I'd like to see a close above, as long as we close above 90k, I think that's bullish. Ethereum struggling with the 200 weekly MA. If we manage to close above that, that's a huge move, especially given that we're down sub $2,100. Interestingly, a lot of people talking about $1,800 when we were down there. And then XRP just looks explosive, to put it better words. I think all-time high in XRP is probably a good chance this week, and especially as we lead up to the crypto summit. what's really exciting for me is some altcoins are so cheap versus where their potential is in a bull run. Let's forget about some of the top coins. So let's forget about all the ones that everybody's talking about. But you look at Chili's, for example, down at 5 cents. You know, even if it only goes back to the March 2024 high, that's a 3x easy, but probably got a lot more legs in it. You could easily see it up at 25 to 50 cents before the end of May, because it doesn't take a lot of capital to move some of these altcoins, especially if we start seeing ETFs getting approved for all the big coins. Then all we're going to see is people speculate and risk out along the risk curve. So basically what that means is if ETFs get approved for Solana, Doge, Cardano, XRP, all things like that, everyone else that doesn't buy in ETFs is going to start buying riskier and riskier assets to try and get that upside, because they're going to speculate that crypto's in a boom time, it's in alt season. So then we start seeing floods of capital from the non-ETF investors, and that's going to shove loads of capital into some of these other alts that maybe aren't getting enough attention right now. So you've got like Chili's there. I mean, Polkadot is basically back at August 2024 levels. Loads of upside. What's that? Yeah, you've got 130% move, and that's just back to the 2024 highs. And 2024 highs in the grand scheme of things is nothing when you look at these charts. You know, you think Polkadot, can it do an all-time high again? $52? Definitely. 10x. You've got Uniswap, which, you know, is down $8. Last bull run did 45. I think it will eclipse that this year. And you can also see how bullish these weekly candles are printing. You've got Uniswap printing a really nice hammer candle, holding above this key line that we had marked out months ago. So yeah, some really cheap prices out there. Zilliqa down at 1.5 cent, bear market lows, you know, down below this green box, which we kind of marked out as the bear market. So huge upside in that. You know, 5x back to March last year levels, and then can it get back to, you know, that's a 10x just to there, and then you've got all-time highs way higher. So loads of huge buying opportunities if anyone's in the market for topping up bags. I looked at Gala Games. I mean, gaming will make a return, but if you zoom in on this weekly candle, it's hugely bullish, bouncing off the lows, still below key levels, and then you're talking, what's that, a 5x back to the March 2024 highs. Loads of coins didn't even take out the March 2024 highs, so that's the short-term goal, and then from there, loads of upside. I know a lot of people took part in the CRV trade, the swing trade. You can see this downward, let's zoom out a little bit, this downtrend was actually what we thought was going to be a bit of a triangle, and then it broke below, then it broke above. But you can see that trend line, which was a downtrend line, was broken, and now it's been back tested. So for me, CRV looks hella bullish. I think 150 should be an easy target from here. Nice 3x from here. But, you know, an amazing opportunity where you could have been buying in these lows. So, and that's not even, when we zoom out, like 150 is not even high on this chart. You're expecting it to go back to $6. So 10, 12x from here, easy. And Arbitrum, I mean, not that I'm a massive fan of the project, but seems to get a lot of hype. I think they're making some big moves in the, you know, to tackle the Ethereum issues. But again, hammer candle weekly, bouncing off the lows, lowest price February's put in the lowest price ever. So even if it goes back to, you know, $1, $2, something like that, some nice gains. Opulus actually had quite a nice couple of weeks recovering while the market sold off. So even though Ethereum was continuing to drop, Opulus has kind of been green, which is positive. Reclaimed this level, bounced off it. Looks like it's going to print a nice weekly candle. So yeah, I would expect it to be back above 8 cents very soon. And it's one of these coins that moves quite quick when it does. So yeah, looks very bullish. Shiv's asking what looks like good buys. Like, the entire market is very cheap. I mean, like, we're talking about Solana XRP moving 30-40% today. There's no reason a lot of coins can't do that in a proper alt season when we get that proper liquidity. So there's no, in fact, I fully expect altcoins to do 40, 50, 60% moves. So yeah, MV way down at the lows. So I mean, to be fair, it's not made a new low since November, which compared to the rest of the market, it's not too bad. LimeWire down at 12 cents. I never thought we'd get this low in LimeWire. Never in a million years did I think we'd get this low. So a great buying price. It's bounced off this resistance level from September 2023 and the support level from November. So that's probably the lowest you're going to be able to buy LimeWire for a while. And Inspect, again, another coin that's defied all laws of gravity and dropped lower and lower. But has the bottom come in for all these coins? Probably, because every catalyst they could throw at this market, they've pretty much thrown at it. Whether it be Trump's going to drag the US into recession, trade wars, World War III, you've got Bybit being hacked, you've got people saying that there's going to be rate hikes, not even cuts, there's going to be rate hikes. And now we're here, and now we're on the verge of Trump endorsing a strategic crypto reserve. It doesn't feel like there's going to be much more lows to put in. So if you're buying in these areas, I think it's a safe bet that you could see some upside potential in the coming months. Thoughts on 0% capital gains on crypto? To be honest, I don't know how much that moves capital into crypto. Like, I think crypto's it's still such a niche investment. I don't think, if anything, I think if you told a normal person that's not in crypto, not a psychopath like us lot, that you should take your stock portfolio and put it in crypto, because then you pay 0% capital gains. If anything, I think that gives them a reason to go, yeah, that sounds scammy. Like, why would you not have to pay tax? I get why it's bullish for us. Like, we all think it's bullish because, you know, a lot of us are probably looking at huge capital gains bills. So we understand it. We think it's bullish, but we understand crypto. So I think something like that won't push that many more people into crypto. I think you need to understand crypto. You need to understand the promise and the potential to understand why 0% capital gains make sense. But I don't think it's a massive driver. Like if you spoke to one of your friends that's not in crypto and said, oh yeah, but you don't pay tax on it, I think they'd probably go, like, that justifies that it's a scam to them in their head. They probably go, oh, that makes it sound more dodgy. That makes it sound more not something I want to touch, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to pay capital gains tax. I don't want to pay any tax, to be honest, but it almost legitimizes crypto in the eyes of people outside crypto. It's like, well, if you do a tax return and you declare it and you pay tax on it, it must be legit. If you don't, then it makes it seem less legit in a weird way. So for me, I don't think that moves the needle. I don't think it moves capital in a dramatic fashion. It might be like a 1% extra, but it's not going to be a catalyst for me. And I also I think it's just authorities. I think it makes sense for authorities. I think taxing crypto is going to be one of the most time-consuming and expensive exercises a government can do when it comes to tax. So if you just say it's 0% tax, actually you probably save the government money, because they then don't have to hire all these professional people that understand crypto. And how many people do you then alienate from the system, rather than just say 0% tax and then tax on other stuff? Yeah, I think it's just a cop-out, because they don't actually have any good way of verifying if you're paying the right amount of tax, your due tax, or catching people that evade tax. Like, I think 0% tax is like a cop-out for them. But some very nice looking charts. Solana, could it lead the way? I think XRP is now its time to shine, to be honest. I think we'll see, if we look at the fibs on this move down, even if we ignore that big scam wick, then interestingly we got up to the 618 and we've kind of been rejected from there. But for me, 575 up to $8 looks like the next targets for XRP. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I'm not saying it's going to happen this week, but I think we are starting a new uptrend, and it always comes when extreme fear is in the market and something completely out of left field happens. So for me, I think XRP might lead. I think it's, if Ethereum's ever going to have a time to shine, it is now. I'll be interested to see what happens with Ethereum, because there's a lot of noise that ETFs and staking is going to get approved. If staking gets approved, I do think that will be a massive capital driver for traditional investors, because you can earn yield so easily. And then Bitcoin and bonds. The Bitcoin backed bonds, I think, makes a huge amount of sense. So companies can issue debt in the US. I think they can do it in the UK as well, but it's not a done thing in the UK. But in the US, they can issue debt. And right now, MicroStrategy is issuing debt on their company stock, but it's also backed by Bitcoin. There's also talk that the US government could do this. So right now, what happens when the government issues debt to pay for stuff, somebody has to buy that debt. And it's a treasury or a bond. In the UK, it's called a gilt. So right now, what happens if you buy a bond for 10 years and it's $100 to buy that bond on a 5% interest rate? Well, every year for 10 years, you get 5%. And that 5% is designed to compensate you for the inflation each year. So you have some return. Inflation's 3%, you earn 5% a year, you make 2%. But at the end of the 10 years, you also get your $100 back, because it was just a loan. What the US government could do is say, okay, well, give me that $100, I'll give you 2% per year, or 3%, but also I'll give you 1% of that $100 in Bitcoin at today's price, but in 10 years. Well, everybody would flock to that, in my opinion. That's in traditional world, pension funds, Wall Street, anyone that's a safety trade investor would do that, because they're going to get their $100 back. They're going to get interest every year, and they're going to get Bitcoin at today's price, but in 10 years, which we know Bitcoin will be at least 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times higher in price than it is today. So that's a great way of driving demand to US government debt, which brings down yields, which also allows the government to spend loads of money, reduce their debt levels, and an amazing investment for a safety trade investor like a pension fund or a bank. So there's talk of them doing that with Bitcoin, there's talk of them doing that with gold. I think that's the easiest way to monetize the US government debt, bring down yields, and also puts buying pressure on Bitcoin. Well, Flame, to be fair, it had a nice pop last week. But yeah, I agree. It's been down and down and down. I think launchpads have taken a bit of a beating. If I'm honest, there was like a phase where launchpads were like the hottest thing, and everybody was talking about launchpads, new projects, and then every single one got slammed, which caused a massive sell-off in launchpad tokens. I think if I was a betting man, I would say that's Flame. Well, to be fair, I probably am, given that I'm in crypto, but I would say that's the low end for Flame. I would say, it had a bit of a green week last week. I think if it prints a nice bullish candle for the weekly close, then that should be the low end, and we can expect it to start moving higher. The thing is, these coins don't take a lot of money to move the needle, so it doesn't take billions and billions to flow into these coins to actually make them move. So when that liquidity does get turned on, and that's what I'm saying, for me, liquidity's not arrived yet. This is purely a speculative pump based on news, and we had the exact same thing in November. Trump got elected, we had a month-long pump across the market that was built on speculation and bullishness and sentiment because of Trump. We've not got liquidity yet, so the conditions haven't dramatically changed since November. We've just got bullish news. Now if we see follow through with capital, liquidity and new buyers in the market, that's the explosive combination that's going to send us into a full-blown massive bull run. So until those conditions are met, I do think we'll see a pump, but I don't think we'll get 150, 200k Bitcoin. We need that QE, we need that liquidity, or at least the announcement of it. Because as I've said, if they announce that they're going to start QE in May or June, the market will price that in now. And actually when the QE starts, it's already been priced in. And a great example of this is, let me show you Bitcoin. So in November 2022, so this was the FTX crash, and obviously that did crash the markets, but this same period was when the Fed announced that they were going to start raising rates. QT was starting. So the Fed comes out and says, it was Jackson Hole, November 2022, came out and said, we're going to start raising rates, we're going to start reducing liquidity in the markets. And obviously it coincided with bad news, markets dumped. But it was actually, I think it was March, I'm pretty sure it was March. Let me pull it up. So QT in 2023, sure it was March 2023 that it started. not entirely sure. But my point is, by the time the actual news hits the market, it'll start pricing it in. So if they say, right, this summer we are going to begin QE, the market prices that in beforehand. They know liquidity's coming, everybody rushes in to buy risk assets, and then by the time they actually cut rates, it's already done. It's already priced in the markets. And I think we do see that this year. And combined with Trump, combined with the buying pressure, combined with the fact that they're now saying banks can custody digital assets, I think we're on for a huge few weeks. I think we could see a lot of green in the markets. I think moves like this on Cardano could be familiar across the space, but we do need to see follow through. And I do think the next 24 hours could be volatile, but nice to see Ethereum regaining the weekly moving average. That is a very bullish sign. And yeah, maybe Ethereum's time to shine is here. But that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that surprise stream, just because Trump has now announced that there is going to be a crypto strategic reserve. It's going to include Solana, XRP, Cardano, Ethereum and Bitcoin. But the summit on Friday should give us more details. I do expect we'll get some news this week on some ETFs or some regulation changes that is going to help that summit go off with an absolute bang. I think speculative buying this week makes a lot of sense. I do think we will see a lot of people buying, expecting even bigger pumps coming this week. So it could be a very green week in the markets, which is nice to see. Next up, we need some QE, or at least promise of it, and this market could go to all-time highs very quickly. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'll catch you again very soon.